The British East India Company. Rise, impact, and legacy of the 17th century trading company. Presentation overview. Founding of the East India Company. The East India Company was founded in 1600 as a trading company by Queen Elizabeth I of England, and it quickly grew to become a dominant force in the Indian subcontinent. Impact on India. The East India Company had a significant impact on India, including its economic exploitation and the social and cultural impact of British colonialism. Legacy of the company. The legacy of the East India Company includes the Indian Rebellion of 1857 and the eventual end of the company's rule over India. The rise of the East India Company. Foundation of East India Company. The East India Company was founded in 1600 as a trading company that aimed to profit from the spice trade in Asia and eventually became a dominant power in India. Growth and expansion. The East India Company gradually expanded its influence in India, establishing its own army and governance structure, and eventually becoming a dominant power in the region. Founding of the company. Royal Charter. The East India Company was granted a royal charter by Queen Elizabeth I in 1600, which gave it a monopoly on English trade with the East Indies. First voyage to India. The company's first voyage to India was in 1601, marking the beginning of its dominance over English trade in the East Indies. The company's growth and expansion. Trading practices. The East India Company's trading practices, including the production of opium and textiles, played a significant role in its growth and expansion in India and beyond. Political alliances. The East India Company formed strategic political alliances with local rulers and governments, which helped it establish a strong presence in India and expand its influence beyond. The company's impact on India. Economic exploitation. The East India Company's economic exploitation of India had a significant impact on the country's resources and wealth. The company extracted raw materials and resources for its own benefit, leading to poverty and deprivation for many Indians. Social and cultural impact. The East India Company had a significant impact on Indian society and culture. It introduced Western education and modernization, which had a profound impact on Indian society and culture. Economic exploitation of India. The East India Company's trading practices. The East India Company's trading practices played a significant role in India's economic exploitation. We'll examine the company's use of the opium trade and other means to gain profits. Effects of trading practices on India's economy. The East India Company's trading practices had profound effects on India's economy, including loss of resources, the industrialization, and a sharp decline in the standard of living of many Indians. Social and political impact on India. Introduction of Western education. The East India Company introduced Western education in India, leading to the establishment of modern schools and universities. This played a significant role in shaping modern Indian society. Impact on Indian industries. The East India Company's rule had a negative impact on Indian industries, leading to the decline of many traditional practices and handicrafts. This left many Indians unemployed and impoverished. Legacy of the East India Company. Indian Rebellion of 1857. The Indian Rebellion of 1857 was a major uprising against the East India Company's rule in India and its oppressive policies towards Indian people. It led to significant changes in British Indian administration and policy. End of the company's governance in India. The events that led to the end of the East India Company's governance in India were complex and multifaceted, including economic, political, and social factors. The Indian Rebellion of 1857 was one of the key catalysts that led to the British Crown taking direct control over India. The Indian Rebellion of 1857. Causes of the rebellion. The Indian Rebellion of 1857 was caused by a number of factors, including economic, social, and political grievances of the Indian people against the East India Company's rule. Consequences of the rebellion. The Indian Rebellion of 1857 had far-reaching consequences, including the dissolution of the East India Company's rule in India and the beginning of direct British rule in the country. The end of the East India Company. The Indian Rebellion of 1857. The Indian Rebellion of 1857 was a turning point in Indian history and led to the end of the East India Company's rule over India. British government takes over India. Following the Indian Rebellion of 1857, the British government took over the governance of India from the East India Company. End of the East India Company. The Indian Rebellion of 1857 marked the end of the East India Company's rule over India, which had a lasting impact on India's political, economic, and social structures. Conclusion. Positive consequences. The British East India Company's rule brought modern education, law and order, and infrastructure developments to India. It also helped in the abolition of social evils like sati and child marriage. Negative consequences. The British East India Company's rule was marked by economic exploitation, famine, and the destruction of traditional Indian industries. It also led to the deindustrialization of India and the loss of its economic independence. Complex legacy. The legacy of the British East India Company in India is complex and controversial, with both positive and negative aspects. Its role in shaping Indian history cannot be denied, but its impact on India's economy, society, and culture continues to be debated. Thank you.